Hey newbies, I'm the new fiddler and I'm a month 4 fiddle newbie. You must be a week 1 fiddle newbie. So here's 11 tips right after this. So if you are a new fiddler, hit the subscribe button. Welcome to Fiddledom. I'll try and release videos every week. Okay, 11 tips for people in their first week of fiddle practice. Okay, so tip 1, practice every day. The excitement of getting yourself a student violin and opening it up and seeing how fresh it looks and getting it all ready to play is going to really give you that drive to practice every day. So practice every day. And also practice for at least half an hour. That first push in your first 7 days is really going to boost you in your first month. If you're not driven to practice in that first week, there's a really good chance that you probably won't continue to play. Okay, tip number 2. Start a practice routine from day 1. So variety is not the spice of fiddle life. You need to try and do the same things over and over again for the first 7 days. It should just consist of tuning your violin and then picking up and practicing how you hold your violin, how you hold your bow, and just open strings. Now, that's what teachers tell us to do, but if you're self-taught, you're not going to do it. We're not going to bow open strings for a minimum of half an hour for 7 days. So if you do find yourself wanting to push past that, just learn what to know, just learn where your fingers go and don't go any further if you can, but I know you won't. Okay, so tip number 3 is an extension from tip number 2, and that is plan out next month. So in your 7 days, take some time to plan out the next 30 days. Why? Because it goes really quick. So 7 days will disappear and then suddenly you're at week 2 and you don't really know what you're doing. So it's always good, even you can in day 1, but hopefully in your first week, you sit down and plan out what you're going to do in the 30 days. Now, it needs to be flexible. You have to, some things are going to be easy and you'll be able to do them in 15 minutes and it's going to feel very natural. And then other things are not. A good example is your left hand hold. Lots of people feel very comfortable with a bent wrist, but we have to learn to be able to keep our wrist straight. So it may be that you'll need to spend more time just practicing keeping that wrist straight, but maybe you're very good at bowing, or you have a good bow hold. Okay, when you set out your plan, it's really important to make sure that you have something to return to, like a diary, or a calendar diary, or a little journal, so that as the days go past, you can flip open that journal and see what you're doing today. And before you start your lesson, you can gather your materials and get up those YouTube tutorials that you need, so that when you step into your lesson, you're ready to go. Okay, tip number 4, stick to the basics. There's no point going to YouTube and trying to watch a tutorial on how to do vibrato if you can't even play a scale. Really stick to the basics in week 1. Open strings. Maybe where this finger goes. Make sure your bow hold is correct. Bunny rabbit ears. Make sure your violin is sitting in the correct place. That's the important things in week 1. It's not if you can play the butterfly or the washerwoman or anything like that, or if you can do double stops, playing 2 strings at once. None of this matters in week 1 or month 1. All you need to do is make sure that you can get that bow going up and down those strings, strengthen your fundamentals, and when you hit your first year, when you begin your second year, these things are going to make you a better player. And you can jump on YouTube. You're already on YouTube. You can go and search adult beginner violinists, and there's hundreds. But you can really see, you can really hear those that have tried hard at the beginning to focus on the basics, and those who have just learnt a song a week. You can really hear it. Their intonation, the sound of their playing is so much more professional than those who haven't tried to learn the basics. Okay, tip number 5 is kind of an extension from tip number 4, and that is focus your practice. So yes, you might write down in your calendar, diary, or your journal that you have 5 or 6 things that you want to practice in your session, but if you know that there is one thing that you're weak at, if there's something that you're struggling with, and you have the discipline to be able to spend that whole session working on that thing, that's good. That will show, you will improve so much by having that mindset to be able to find the things that you are struggling with, and then spending time trying to perfect is not the best word because that makes it sound professional, but correct. If you can correct those things, that one thing that you're struggling with, and overcome that hurdle and be better at it, and then you can apply that to every single part of your fiddle journey, you are going to be good by the time you hit 2 years. So focus your practice. If you can't bow in the middle between your fingerboard and your bridge, if you keep sliding down towards your finger bow, or if you're sliding up towards the bridge and you know that's a problem, and you have the discipline to spend day after day trying to fix that for 20 minutes of your session, of a half an hour session, that's discipline and that's good. Okay, enough said about that. Okay, 6. If you are not disciplined and you find yourself getting bored with fundamentals, or that you are learning through a book, in your first week, just learn one tune. If you cannot stick to fundamentals like open strings, just using one finger, learn one simple song, one simple tune. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Amazing Grace, Shady Grove, I think is pretty easy as well. Just pick one of those 3, and then just try and perfect it, which you won't in week 1, but just focus on that one song. Don't just flip through your book looking at different songs and trying them out. Pick one that you like and learn it, and let that song, practice that song into the 2nd week, into the 3rd week, okay? Be disciplined. Don't just be someone who's learning 10 songs in a week. You're gonna sound like shit. Also, when you're learning your one song, play it slow. So the 3 songs that I mentioned all can be played slow and they still sound good. Don't be one of those beginner fiddlers who have to rush their songs when they haven't even learned how to play it slow. Just play it slow. Okay, tip number 7, watch yourself. So pull out your iPhone. So pull out the old iPhone and just prop it up on a shelf somewhere, on the vanity unit in your bathroom, and film yourself and watch what you're doing. Look for little things that you're doing wrong. So don't punish yourself if you sound really, really bad. It will improve. But you want to look for things like, is your hand bent? Do you have white knuckles when you're playing with your left hand? Is your bow running at an angle rather than straight? Because sometimes it feels very strange to bow straight. It's not a natural feeling. Tip number 8, get a lesson. Now, I know a lot of us focus on online learning, being self-taught. And yes, you are still self-taught if you get a lesson every now and then, okay? It's those who get a lesson every week I guess, fall out of that category of not being self-taught. But if you're getting a lesson once a month to ensure that you are doing things correct, that's okay. Because nothing beats veterancy. We did the same thing when we learned how to make fire as cavemen. When someone learned to paint, there was someone there looking over their shoulder, correcting their technique. And it's exactly the same for you as a fiddler. Someone needs to be there to pick up on the things that you are not picking up as a beginner. If you do go for a lesson, just be prepared to be corrected all the time. And if you're the kind of person who has jumped to learning a tune, so learning that one tune, having your first 2 or 3 lessons is going to be a nightmare, because you will only do fundamentals and probably one for the whole lesson. And that's a good thing. Okay, tip number 9, find your fiddle mentor. Find that person that inspires you to learn the fiddle. It doesn't have to be a person down the street. It doesn't have to be your neighbor or someone that you interact with. It can be a YouTuber. It can be someone that you've seen online who really inspires you. It could be the person who inspired you to start. Well, if that person has inspired you to start, keep watching them. Look how they play. Really study their technique and the way they play. And if they're an online tutor, say like Jason from Fiddlehead or John from bluegrassdaddy.com, it's easy to be able to really analyze their playing, because they're teaching you online and they're slowing all their music down so that you can study it. There are many other people, like Brittany House is a very, very good fiddler. You can pretty much see every fiddle video that comes out of America at the moment, or Scandinavia at the moment, seems to have Brittany House on it. She is a pleasure to watch. She has ninja fingers. So you know, my fiddle mentor is definitely Jason from Fiddlehead. So Jason, I just like the way he plays. He is awesome. So you can go to fiddlehead.com and check out any of his beginner tutorials, and when he plays, even at a slow pace, it's just awesome. So recommend going to fiddlehead.com or his channel, Fiddlehead. Okay, number 10, learn to read music. Now, as a fiddler, it's not mandatory. It's not as important as if you're a violinist, but do it. Learn to read music, or learn to read fiddle tab, which is easier. But the thing we have to remember though as beginners is we're not going to be able to sight read. I think a lot of people seem to think that when you learn to read music, it's like when you read a book. You look at it, you read, and you comprehend. That's not necessarily how you read music as a beginner. It's more like the Suzuki method, where you listen to the song at a very slow pace and you follow the notes and you have a gradual understanding of what each note represents, you know, the name of them, where they sit on a violin. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't confuse like music theory with learning to read music. Even though they're the same, one is like learning to be able to pick up a piece of sheet music and just play it, and that's hard. And then maybe what we need as fiddlers, which is to be able to look at sheet music, already know the tune in our head, and then be able to follow the music and the rhythm. I did the same thing when I learned to play the snare drum in a bagpipe band. I still can't read music properly. Okay, tip number 11. 11? Yeah, 11. Tune up every day. This is really, it doesn't seem like it should be a tip, you should do this anyway. So every in-person teacher and online tutor is going to tell you in your first lesson that you watch online is tune up. It's so important for a beginner to have an in-tune violin. Otherwise, especially if you have a really good musical ear, your fingers will move. Eventually, if you don't have that in tune, your fingers will move from the position they should be to the position that it sounds correct, and you will develop incorrect finger placement. So it's so important. Always have your violin in tune. Okay guys, one extra tip, which is probably the most important of them all, is don't give up. You're going to sound so shit at first that it's going to be heartbreaking. And it's so easy to jump online or go down to a pub or cafe and see someone just play violin or fiddle and sound amazing, and then you go home and pick up yours and just you make the worst sound. This is completely normal. We all sound shit at the beginning. Even in the first year, it is hard. Not only do you have to learn correct intonation, but you have to memorize your songs. Once you've memorized your songs, you have to build confidence in playing that song, and then you have to put in variation to make it sound nice, rather than just like a beginner tune. Like, it's a huge journey, guys. Don't punish yourself in your first 6 months. Just go through it. Just grind every day. Just pick up the violin, practice open strings, practice intonation, learn your basic songs, and just live in the future. Right now, week 1 Fiddle Newbie, but time passes, and before you know it, you're going to be a month 4 Fiddle Newbie, and you'll be able to play things. And then more time will pass, and you'll have more practice, and you'll be a 1-year Fiddle Newbie, and what you'll be able to do then will be amazing. So don't give up. Don't give up. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I'm Willow, you're watching The New Fiddler. Hit the subscribe button and the bell. I try to release videos once a week. Good luck with your week 1 fiddle journey.